Maybe we let my dad, just my dad.
So good morning, good morning, good morning again. They're all coming in. One of the things I was going to mention when we did this is a lot of you have taken classes from me, and you know what I love to do is give you a class and not give you directions to follow that you can print, because I feel like they are a hindrance to your actual creativity, because then you get stuck in following the directions word for word and you don't think about what the possibilities might be. So in this case, the possibilities are you don't have to use water-soluble sticky stabilizer. If you wanted a little bit of extra stabilization to your bag, you could use sticky cutaway. You could use spray-based and use a mesh cutaway. Anything more that you add will add a little bit more body to the bag when you're done. And the other thing that you certainly can do is you can add an extra layer of SF101. Our directions call for 1 layer, but if at the end of doing your embroidery, you feel like, oh, it would have been nicer if it was just a little bit more stable, then you can add another layer. You can use a different type of stabilizer. You can use like a Decaville Light, which is what I use a lot for bag making. It's a little bit sturdier than SF101. However, I would not embroider through that. I would use the SF101, do the embroidery, and then put the stabilizer over that. You know, the Decaville Light, if you wanted to add more stability, and that's going to make it almost stand more firm by itself. It would probably sit up more by itself. So if you find that as you use your bag, you wish it had more stability, there are always things that you can do to make it more stable. But I have to tell you, I was really, really impressed. Do not fear these things. They're not going to let you get it wrong. It's like one step at a time. And for those of you that may have come from the sewing world before you came from the embroidery world, that is otherwise known as a bound buttonhole made in the hoop. So now it's just, I mean, that was like, it was so, I'm like, why have I never thought of that? So, you know, you'll get some practice with that. It is not difficult. We're going to go slow when we get to this area. We're doing the back of the bag second. We're going to go slow. We're going to go one step at a time. Here's what I'm going to ask you. If you are stuck somewhere, please don't wait till I have finished that hole to ask me to back up, because I can't. So if you have to wave your hands in front of the camera like a crazy person, if you have to, you know, but please, if I'm looking at the sewing machine, don't ask me that question in the chat box, because I'm not going to see it. So stop me before it's done, because I can't go back. All I can do is rip out stitches. So I'm going to ask several times, are we there? Or is everybody there? Because I think you're going to love this. I loved it. I thought it was fabulous. So in your kit, you didn't really get a kit. I think the only thing you got was maybe some pre-cut fabric, or even that, I think you were doing on your own. Because this is just a pre-made pouch and a belt kit. So this is what the belt kit looks like. And from someone who actually does bags, I was pretty impressed with the hardware in this belt kit for the price that you paid for the belt kit. But the webbing is nice. It's not quite seatbelt webbing, which is good, because seatbelt webbing sometimes can be pretty slippery, meaning that when you fit it to your waist using this part, it's kind of sometimes just slips pretty easy. This has a little bit of a grip, and it's a really nice size. Looks to me like about 1.5 inches, maybe bordering on 1.75 inches. Which is a really comfortable size. I see people wearing these all the time, especially Costco and everything else. Now, some of you have been in the curated boxy printed vinyl class. You could do this with clear vinyl. You just probably wouldn't be doing all the embroidery on it, but you could certainly do the finishing steps with clear vinyl and make yourself a stadium bag that you can wear to a, you know, most of the stadiums now require that you have a clear bag to go into the stadium. Anything, you know, larger than just your wallet, that they can check. They want you to have a clear bag. So I've made more than a few for myself, because I'm a huge baseball fan. I love baseball. We have a local AAA team here in Reno, and I love baseball season. So, but I have to have my phone. I have to have my stuff. You know, there's just certain things you can't go without. All right, so you will need your pouch, and what we're going to do to start with is we're going to give this a really good press. We want it nice and wrinkle free. I used a little bit of best press, but I'm still going to repress a little bit. And then we're going to take the SF-101 that was required, and we're going to fuse it to the back of the canvas. So I want to go through some of the parts that you think might be a little bit difficult. This bag already has lining. So the important part is that when we lay this down on top of our sticky stabilizer, I'm going to say, is your lining out of the way? So you're going to do this and make sure that this is folded up so that it's out of the way. We want to do the embroidery just on the canvas, not on the lining. So make sure that the lining is thin. It's like muslin. So you have one on each side. We want to make sure that when we stick this down to do the embroidery, that you do not have your lining behind it. And it's all going to kind of come together in the end. We are going to be following the directions in the book, but as we go along, I'm going to give you a couple of hints on how maybe I might do it different. And also I'm going to show you how you can, all right. So some of you have luminaires and solarises that have a no-sew feature on it, correct? Yeah. Yeah. All right. And I know a lot of you have thought, oh, what am I going to do with that no-sew feature? Well, if you had this pattern up on your sewing machine, you could choose to not sew the design that they have. And then guess what you could do? You could fill it with one of your designs from Design Center or IQ Designer. So they don't all have to be the same. There are so many possibilities. You could, if you don't have no sew, then when it comes time, the first thing that sews is actually the embroidery other than the placement line. Just skip it and pick a different embroidery design. Most of you have the baby lock or the brother, the decorative fills and the decorative motifs that you bought separately. Brother has them, baby lock has them. Doesn't matter which one machine you have, those fills go on either one. It's not proprietary. You could use one of those. So you have lots and lots and lots of possibilities. Okay, so we will be following the directions except for the placement. So we're not doing the 5x7, we're doing the 8x12. So we don't have to match anything. But we're gonna just start with sewing the 8x12 placement line, and then we just won't have the marking so that we're doing half a pouch at a time. When I do the videos for these, I like to do the videos using a 5x7 hoop if that's offered, because there are some people that don't have an 8x12 hoop. And so, you know, they would, if they had a 6x10 hoop in this case, they would be using the 5x7, you know. So they usually do the directions for the 5x7. We're doing the 8x12. So in starting from the beginning, do we rev up your engines, ladies? We're going to start.
Can I ask a question real quick, Michelle?
Yes, of course.
Okay, on my sticky back, I only have a cutaway. I have the wash away, but I would have to piece it in 2 pieces.
Yeah, don't worry about it. You can use the cutaway. So what you're going to do when you get done is you're just going to kind of trim it out of the seam allowances. We don't want to have to sew that because it's going to make the seam allowances really stiff. So you don't have to cut it away from around the embroidery. You're just going to trim it around on these 3 sides. Let me get this up so you can see it. So when you sew and you take this off, don't worry about up here. That's fine. But we want to trim your embroidery on these 3 sides. Not the embroidery, the stabilizer, just to try to get it out of the seam allowance.
Okay.
And that's usually when I do bag making, that's how I look at it, is I always get my stabilizer out of my seam allowances, because what you want is you want a nice crisp seam allowance, but you still want stability. So the stabilizer goes on the inside of the seam allowance, not in the seam allowance, because that's usually what gives you skip stitches and all that stuff too, depending on the stabilizer that you've used. Okay, so to begin with, we are going to press and get it nice and pretty, get all the wrinkles out of it. This is always the best time to press it because it's easy to press because it's flat. So let's get it nice and smooth, both the canvas and the lining. And then we're going to take the SF-101 and we're going to fuse it to the back of the canvas, not the lining. So let me get my pressing mat over here and we'll do it together. Yeah, I agree. They do look pretty straight this time. The other thing that you can do, I know that we like to kind of follow directions. When if you have one, like if you look at this one, I've got a little bit of the lining from the outside edges. This is not enough for me to worry about. But if I had like, my lining was like this much bigger than my bag, there's no rule that says you can't trim it to the same size as your bag. This is why I don't always give you directions. I give them to you afterwards. Because otherwise you're so focused on the directions, you don't make a choice. You don't make a choice that would be you know what to do. You just don't think you do. All right, so I'm going to give this a little best press because best press makes everything better on both sides. I guess my little bit might be more than your little bit, but I like things to be nice and pressed when I start. I always look at the bottom first. If any of you have ever done this with an iron and somebody used it before you that got glue on it from something else, you know why I do that. You can press on your zipper a little bit from either side. I wouldn't leave the iron sitting there, but you can give it a good press. Keep in mind that it's okay if it still has a little crease in it on the outside edges because we're actually going to be marking on the interior to it. So some of this is going to get cut off. And it's always nice when you have more zipper than what you need because it makes it easier to work. All right. This is looking pretty smooth here. Again, I'm going to identify the parts. This is the canvas. This is what we're going to be embroidering on. If I lift it up, this is your lining. This is when I say get your lining out of the way, this is what I mean. This is your zipper pull. So when I say zipper pull to the left or zipper pull to the right, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so I'm going to just start by lifting up my lining, getting it out of the way. Also, for those of you that have a heat press, I do all of my stabilizer with the heat press. All right, so I'm going to leave this area free. So I'm going to actually lift up where let me get a little closer there. I don't want to do this. I don't want to put the stabilizer over the zipper and the seam there. So I'm just going to slide it underneath. This is the SF-101. I'm just going to slide it underneath and then let that come on top of it. Yeah, I do. I haven't done fabric yet because I work with a lot of vinyls and sometimes the vinyls, you can still give them heat, but sometimes it's easier. Okay, we have 3 more popping in. All right, so I've got that SF-101 just underneath the seam for the zipper. So I'm not, I'm not pressing it onto the seam or the zipper tape. I have my piece of lining up and out of the way. So I am only fusing the SF-101 to my the back side of my canvas, the canvas. And I do tend to press from both sides. So I start on the back, but then I'm going to turn it over and press again from the front. Because if there's any bubbles, I'm going to see it from the front, not the back. Because once I'm done, the back's covered. All right. Moving over to the other side. Oh, see, there's a couple bubbles right there. I want to make sure I don't have bubbles. So lift it up. Make sure you've got no bubbles. All right. I've got the other side now. Gonna lift my lining up and move it out of the way. I'm gonna slip my SF-101 underneath the seam that is the zipper. All right, turn it over and make sure you don't have any bubbles anywhere. I'm seeing a couple right here. I'm just gonna give that another little press. Yes, that's always a good reminder, Lynn, not to have dark threads in between the stabilizer and your like this one, but it's not, at least it's not, I'm not fusing it in between the stabilizer and the canvas. I've done that a few times. You can sometimes reheat your stabilizer and take it off if that happens to you. But if you do that, that stabilizer's done. It's not going to refuse securely. But if you need to get it off, you need to get it off. All right, cool. All right, I'll let that cool for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and grab my hoop here. I already have my sticky wash away. If you use sticky wash away, please keep that in mind when you go to do a press after your bag is constructed, because it's still in there. Don't use steam. If you have to press it, don't use steam, because the steam's going to begin to, melt the sticky stabilizer, and pretty soon you're going to have a puckered mess on your hand. So remember that, if you're using the wash away stabilizer, don't press with steam. Sorry. I think I can take that charger out and maybe it won't wiggle so much.
Okay, I don't recall cutting it down.
All right, I have a 7511 anti-glue needle in my machine. I'm going to be on the Luminaire this morning. I have an embroidery bobbin in, and I am using kind of a peachy color this morning, in contrast to the green that I did. So the Paisley will still be the kind of beigey tan color, and then I have peach, because I could not resist the springy look of the peach. I'm just wishing for spring. We had a couple of days and now it's looking like winter again out there. All right, moving over to the sewing machine. Let me move you guys with me. All right, I'm gonna stop the camera on my laptop so you're not looking at the side of my head when I sew. Nothing to see there. All right, so I'm gonna bring up my Kimberbell designs. And let's see, we're doing the Paisley bloom bag. And under the embroidery files, I want to select the 8x12. So notice that your 5x7 has 4 files because it's split. I want the 8x12. We're doing the front of the bag first. So select the 8x12 and then select set. Yes, does somebody have a question? Okay, got it. All right. So, and I'm going to grab my little pouch. The first thing that's going to stitch out is this box. And as we go through this, I'm going to make a couple of suggestions if you want to do something else besides the Kimberbell design. If you have, I'm going to select return for a moment. If you have a Luminaire or Solaris that's at upgrade 3, you actually have a no-sew feature. So you can select no sew and you can touch the one that you don't want to sew. And you can turn it off. So then you just have the positioning line. All right, this is just your quick throwing it in there because I know you all have these machines. Or a lot of you have these machines. You learn all of this in your new user class and then you never use it again because you don't know what to use it for. So now I have this. And now I want to put something else in there. Not there. There's the box. Sending it back to Design Center. I'm going to add, because I had the other one. I'm going to go get that square. That's going to be under the same flower. And now I'm going to put something else in it. And this could be, it could be one of the purchased ones. It doesn't matter. It all works the same. So now I'm going to put this one in it. And just so that I can see it, touch it, boom, next, added, set. So now I'm doing this pattern instead of Kimberbell's pattern. And it's on the beginning of your video. So we're going to go back to the rest of that. I just feel like I can throw a couple of things in, you know, once in a while I like to throw things in, because I know a lot of times, why can't I get back to where I was going? Here it is. I know a lot of times I hear the question, it's like, well, I don't even know how to use that. I don't know what it is. Well, we do go over it in your introductory classes. And if you haven't had your introductory classes and you buy your machine here, let us know, because we do them, we repeat them. If you bought your machine somewhere else and you didn't get an introductory lesson, then yeah, you're right. If you don't use it, you lose it. But if I don't remind you to use it, you don't use it anyway. So we do offer these classes very frequently. And even if you didn't buy your machine here, it's a very nominal fee. You're welcome to join us. All right. So if once you brought your pattern up, touch embroidery. And the first thing that's going to sew is our placement line. So if you're following on the direction page, if you're on this page, which is the beginning for the 5x7, and you could just, for this step, you can stay on here. It says stitch the background placement line. This is the 5x7, so it's only showing you half. But when we go to the 8x12, we only get words. We don't get any pictures. So for the first few pages, we're going to just follow the pictures. So go ahead and select to sew. I have just embroidery bobbin thread in, and I'm just going to put the beige color on there because that's what's going to sew first. This line isn't going to sew at all, show at all when I'm done. So it doesn't matter if I make it purple. It's going to save me a step in changing thread. All right, so here we go. We're sewing out the placement line. Oh, did I see 17 degrees in Klamath Falls this morning? That's cold. Yikes. We're a little warmer than that, but we got some teasers. We got some really warm days where I was like, oh yeah, let's grab the sunglasses and sun hat, put some sunscreen on. Now it's like I'm bundled up in a sweatshirt again today. All right, so this is our placement line. I'm going to take the hoop off of my machine, don't unhoop it, and I'm going to put this on the table so I can zoom in on this part, because this is the part where you have to put your canvas down and fold your lining up, but you have to have your zipper going in the right direction. So let's do it together at the table. You're going to do this twice, once for the front, once for the back. Come on. Where's my little camera? There it is. All right. So here is the hoop mount. I have it at the top of my hoop. Here's my bag. Now I'm flipping over to the page where the 8x12 starts. And it says, stitch the back down placement line. We've done that. Align the sides of the front of the zipper pouch with the fusible backing right side up with the placement line. The zipper pull should be to the bottom of the hoop and the excess fabric to the left. You sure? I'm looking. Wait a minute.
Michelle, we want our canvas right side up, right? Not
Yes. So the lining is not it's not the fabric. The fabric's always going to refer to the canvas. So the zipper pouch has the zipper is closed and the pole is to the right. Let's see. Yeah, that's right. All right. So here's the back of the mount. I want to take my lining and lift it up. And then I want the zipper pull. I want to line this up as best as I can. Doesn't have to be perfect, but where you want to match is where your zipper is. So if you look at the seam allowance here, if you put that seam allowance to the top edge there of that placement line, that way you can have it even on both sides.
Hey, Michelle,
Yes.
the instructions say to have the zipper pull at the bottom. So you've got yours just backwards.
I'm looking at this. If I do it this way.
No, the other side.
Well, this is the side that no, because once okay, when it's done, it needs to go this way. Oh, you're right. When it's done, it needs to go this way. So my zipper pull needs to be at the left when it's done. So you are right. It's going to go at the bottom with the pull to the right. Thank you. All right. So make sure that you've got your lining out of the way. So here's lining, here's the back side of the pouch. All right. Take this side and put the zipper towards that placement line. So here's the zipper. My lining is up out of my way. And I want to fit it within that sewing area. And I want my zipper. So the zipper is going to be your barometer. So for placement, more so than the rest of the pouch, because we want the zipper straight when we sew. I mean, we want the pattern even when we sew the pouch together. So I'm going to take this, and what's going to be, for me, what's going to be my barometer is when I fold my lining back, see where that edge is where the zipper was sewn? I want that edge to be on that placement line. So then when I fold this back out of the way, this part is within the sewing field within that placement line, and then smooth it out. So let me do it again. All right, placement line. Here's my pouch. Zipper pull is to the right. It's at the bottom of the hoop. I'm folding my lining up from the side that I want to stitch on. So I've got the excess here. And then when I fold all of this back, exposing, here's my SF-101, here's the canvas, here's piece number 1 of the lining that goes to the side I'm sewing, here's piece number 2, here's the excess piece of canvas, all pointed up. I'm going to put this seam where they attach the zipper, I'm going to put it right across that placement line, okay? If you do the same thing on the other side, your embroidery will be even on each side of the zipper. So if you notice on mine, because it's split, I had to split with the 5x7 hoop, I have some embroidery that actually went up into the zipper. Not a big deal, but on the other side, I fixed it by making sure that I used that line as a positioning line. All right. So when you have that done, here's what it should look like when you unfold. This should be the lining piece that you moved out of the way to the side that you're sewing. This should be the lining to the back. This should be the back of the bag. So when you're done, this is how it should look. Zipper at the bottom, zipper pull to the right. Here's the mount, your bag in between those placement lines. Okay, did we get it?
No.
Okay,
I'm still messed up. So. I suppose.
Oh, there's three.
This one. I suppose
all right, I'm gonna go through it one more time because we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Here is the placement line. Let me make something so you can see a little bit. Here's my top placement line. Here's one placement line over here. Here's the other placement line here, placement line here, placement line here. I know the thread is kind of a light color, so now you can see my pen. This is the placement line I'm aligning the zipper with. So if the bag is right side open like this, we want the zipper pull to the right at the bottom. So we're working on the top half of this. So here's the zipper pull to the right at the bottom. That means we're working on this one, not this one. All right, so lift that piece of canvas up, fold its lining back, and then align that seam at that bottom placement line. All right, and then fold the other stuff out of the way. When you're done, your zipper should be right side up. All right, so this is what I'm stitching on, just the canvas. And I just have the seam where they sewed the zipper in as my guide for the placement line. All right, then sticking it down. All right, so to unwrap, this is the lining for the part I just stuck to the hoop. This is the lining for the side that's not stuck to the hoop. This is the side that's not stuck to the hoop. When I open it up, my zipper is right side up with the pull to the left. All right, that's the hardest part, you guys. Did we all get it this time? You can just give me a thumbs up in front of your camera if we're good. Okay, okay. All right, if you're not getting it, what are you not getting? It doesn't, the placement doesn't have to make sense. It will in a minute. When you start stitching, it will make sense. All right, so here's the mount. Here's the bottom of the front of the bag that's lining up with the placement line or thereabouts. That's here. And then my sides are lining up somewhat with this with the placement line that's here. And with the trick that I learned when I did the first bag was to use this zipper, the seam that they sewed the zipper with, because you can see it when you fold your lining out of the way, there's a seam there. I used the raw edge of the zipper tape as my guide on this end that is the bottom of the hoop. All right, so once you've done that, you're going to unfold the lining out of the way, lining out of the way, back out of the way, and all of the excess. So on the, if I turn my hoop like it's going to go on the machine, all right, like this, the only thing that's here is the front of the bag with my zipper pull at the top, zipper pull top, zipper and bottom. And then the other side of the bag and both sides of the lining are hanging over the outside edge of my hoop.
So Michelle, that's where I think I'm screwed up because in the instructions, it says that that zipper should be at the bottom. When
This is the bottom. This is the bottom. You can't do
Oh.
it the other way. It won't go the other way. If you're looking at your hoop like this, thinking this is the bottom, it's not going to work. The bag is too big. So
Oh,
if this is the mount that goes on the machine, this is the bottom.
okay.
And
Okay.
here, so here's the mount. We're doing the front of the bag. what we want at the end is we want our zipper pull to be on the left. Here's the bag finished with the zipper pull on the left.
Okay, so give me a second. I'm going to turn mine around.
Okay.
I was taking the bottom of the hoop literally.
Yeah, no, it's all right, but it's not going to fit that way. The design's not going to fit because we're not doing it. We're not doing the design vertically. We're doing, or horizontally, we're doing it vertically. In the 5x7 hoop, you're doing it horizontally. All right, if you're worried about this, you can put a clip on it, make sure that all 3 layers are together. The lining that should not be, there should not be any lining behind this, just your SF 101. You can take a little clip, which I don't have back here. Oh, here they are. You can roll this, all the 3 layers together, and you can put a little clip at the end to hold it, kind of like a diploma that's happening all over the country this next week or so. Right, and just, whoops, let's get that too.
So Michelle, actually on that piece that you have laying there, we're not looking at the top of the canvas, we're looking at the stabilizer, I mean the lining. I mean, what do you call it?
This is canvas. This is not lining. This is canvas. We're doing the embroidery. We're putting the embroidery on the canvas, not the lining.
Wonder if.
All right. I'm going to do it one more time. All right. Top of the hoop, bottom of the hoop. Our design is landscape. Or our design is horizontal, not landscape. So if you turn your hoop this way, thinking this is the bottom of the hoop, and you put your bag this way, guess what? Your design is going to be sewing up here. So we're looking at the mount is the top of the hoop. This is the bottom of the hoop. We're taking, this is our bag that we pressed. We have SF 101 on the canvas, not the lining. So here's lining, here's canvas. All right, so first of all, my zipper is going to go at the bottom of the hoop with the pull to the right. So it's going to end up like this. All right, what I don't want to do is stick my lining down that's for this side, because then I'm going to embroider through both and I won't have lining and I won't be happy. So lift it up and move that lining out of the way. So now you're starting the same position, but now that piece of lining is right here on the other side. So you have 2 linings and the back side of the bag. All right. Kind of, wedge it in there. And then what I did, because the first one I did, I followed these lines for placement. All right. But what happened is my zipper was almost too far out of the way. So I ended up using where this, and if you want to just do it within the box, it'll be fine. Your design just won't go up as far on your canvas. You can fit it right between the lines if that makes all of you feel more comfortable. I'll do it too, because I think it's the folded. Yeah.
This is Donna, but if they're using the 5x7 hoop,
we're not using the 5x7 hoop in class, Donna.
I know,
the video,
but I mean,
the video was done. Yeah, we're not using the 5x7. We're all using an 8x12 or larger hoop in class.
Okay.
If you're using a 5x7, there's a video that I did with the 5x7.
Yeah,
so
I'm not using the 5x7.
Okay, then don't worry about it.
But I was
okay?
thinking
Then
if
we're folding
somebody
it this
else
way.
was.
Yeah, not in class. We already did the video for that. So if you're using a 5x7, there's a video already done. You're welcome to stay if you want, but we're not going to show both. All right. So with the 5x7, you would be folding it in half and doing it this way because your 5x7 hoop is skinny. We don't have that. We have a big hoop. So, all right, let's just keep it really simple then. Fold the lining up. Take your piece of canvas. This is the bottom. It's got the serger edge. This is the side. Your zipper pull is to the right, and just line this up in between those lines. between the placement lines. Don't even worry about placing the zipper at the top. As long as you have enough room and you actually place it within these lines, your design will not run on top of the zipper like mine did on my first go around. All right. Are we good? All right. Double check. I'm going to go really as close as I can here with this so that you can still see it. Here's the back where or what is considered the top of this hoop that's going to attach to my machine. All right. The long surged edge of only the canvas with the SF-101 is stuck to my stabilizer. The lining part is out of the way. It's fit in between the lines. The zipper is at the bottom of the hoop with the zipper pole pointing towards the right. Over here at the edge, I have the back of the bag with the SF-101. I have the back of the bag lining, and I have my front lining that's out of the way. So I have three pieces here. Okay, I'm just going to put a couple clips here because that way I can see what's going on and there's not a chance that my lining is going to slide underneath. All right. Are we good? We ready to go? So this is actually within the stitching line that went down. The zipper pull is at the right. The lining is not underneath here. So if you lift this up, you should only see the canvas and the SF-101. If you see the lining, lift it up, take the lining out of the way. All right, moving over to the machine. All right, taking you with me. All right, so let's look at the screen. The next thing that's going to sew is a tack down line. It's going to actually tack your canvas to the stabilizer. Now, if when it tacks down, it goes into the zipper tape, you didn't place it right. If it doesn't, if it just does the square, that's fine. If it's, in here anywhere, it's going to show the area that's going to be the stitching. So I'm just going to press go and let it just do its thing with that beige tape. Or beige thread, sorry. All right. My line is right here on the seam line. I'm good. If your top line is within the zipper tape, you have the bag too high towards the top over here. And so it's going to stitch your design, your Paisley design within the box that just stitched. If it's close to the seam here on the canvas, it's fine. If it's stitching in the zipper tape, that's where your design's going to stitch. So it means that you didn't put your zipper far enough down. All right. So if that's you, you're going to need to move it, or you can choose to say, okay, I'm okay if a little bit of the design sews on my zipper tape. Either way. The next stitch out is your background stitching. So I'm just going to press go. Also, make sure it's stuck down good. So Donna, you are correct. It is different if you're using a 5x7. However, nobody in this class should be using a 5x7 hoop because the directions clearly stated we were going to be using an 8x12 hoop. If you are using a 5x7, you're welcome to hang out, but that video was already done showing you how to do this with a 5x7. We don't normally include the 5x7 hoop in live classes unless the pattern is specifically done for the 5x7 hoop. We will usually pick the larger of the two because most of the customers have at least a 6x10 or a larger hoop. So not to worry about the 5x7. People, I already have them covered. The video was already posted probably 3 or 4 months ago.
Hi there.
Hello.
Oh,
I can't hear you. Hold on, let me stop the machine.
No,
Go ahead.
no, you're fine. I didn't mean to talk. Sorry.
Okay, that's all right. I'll mute you. Go ahead.
Michelle,
Yes.
my stitching just went a tad bit into the side seam. Does that matter?
Nope, mine's actually going into the side seam as well.
Okay. Whew.
So, and I'm just gonna throw something out there. I'm gonna move the camera for a moment so you can hear me. All right. I love Kimberbell directions because they're always so clear. They always give you a lot of different steps. But here's what can happen in this case if you're paralyzed by the written word. If you look at that bag and that bag isn't perfectly made, because how many things do we get that the seams aren't straight? Okay, if that bag isn't perfectly made and you base your positioning on only the positioning line because that's what it says to do, then you run the risk that the design could be crooked because the bag wasn't straight. So I love that everything's really well written out for you because it allows you to grow your skills in a very confident environment. But I'm always going to throw those little innuendos in there that of things that can happen because they do happen. I mean, if you buy a Kimberbell pouch, by far you have a really great chance that it's going to be perfectly square, that the seams are going to be straight, that the actual cut on the bag and the lining are going to be perfectly straight. If you go, you know what, I want to buy a bunch for friends for gifts, and I just saw that I could buy a bunch on Etsy for like half the price of what I paid for the Kimberbell bag, that's great. Fabric might be fine, seams might be crooked. So if you based your positioning of fitting the square part of the bag, this part of the bag within that line, and this part of the bag actually goes like this, then you're doing this and it's not straight. So always, 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 if you're here and you love what you're doing with your embroidery machine, you have intuition. You can trust it. If it looks like the bag is crooked, it probably is. So I'm not saying don't fit it within the box. I'm saying always make sure that the box is straight so that you don't end up taking your project out of the hoop going, why is my embroidery hook crooked? And why is there like an inch longer on one side of the bag than on the other? Because things aren't always straight, especially if they're not well made. So I want to push you. I want to push you to do better, to do more. You have all of these amazing things. And I want to push you to get as much out of this machine as you possibly can. And I think you want that too, because you didn't buy it to have it sitting on your table trying to figure out what are all these things that you've never used. So in the course of actually doing a class like this, I want to bring out little things like, yeah, you can make this be a different pattern, because if you're going to do a bunch of them for Christmas gifts, then you may not want to do them all with the same design on it. You have that option of doing something else. You could use one of your built-in embroidery designs. You could use an OESD design. You could use, there's no police that's going to come in and say you can't do a Kimberbell project with an OESD design. So I want to give you freedom. All right, here we go. Almost done with this. And so you can see that mine ran off the edge a little bit here. I'd rather have it run off the edge here than up on the zipper here. So again, make a choice. Which is the least offensive? If it sews all over your zipper, or if it sews off the edge that's going to be sewn together when you sew the bag together and no one's ever going to see it, even you. All righty. Looks pretty good here. Got all of mine on the, I do have some that ran off the bottom down here, but I'm not worried about that because I'm going to be sewing that together. It's going to be in the seam allowance, and then the lining is going to cover it, so it won't ever be seen again. So I'm going to go on, and for me, I'm doing peach in this one. I was just having visions of spring by the time we did this project, because it's May. Who wants 37 degrees in Klamath Falls? Or 17 degrees, I can't remember, but whatever it was pretty doggone cold. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my peach color. All right. How fast am I going here? Oh, I'm going top speed, so can't make it go any faster.
I really like that peach, Michelle.
Yeah,
That's
it's a pretty
pretty.
color. It really is. I was just like looking for, I tried to do the sample according to the directions, and I try to pick the Kimberbell colors because that way the sample looks like, what you see. But
Right.
sometimes I'm like, oh, I love grunge, and we have the grunge in the peach, and I've not really had a chance to really utilize it again. So I wanted to try to do my little buttonhole, my strap hole in the peach color. So yeah, it is kind of refreshing for this time of the year, isn't it?
It is. It is. I really like it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. How we doing? Are we stitching? Yay!
Believe it or not, no problems yet.
Yay, Sonia. Great
Knock on
progress.
wood.
I'm not gonna knock on wood because you don't need it. You got it, girl.
Yeah, Michelle, I'm enjoying watching and I love the color you chose.
Thank you.
So hopefully, since I won't have any more meetings today, I was in a meeting when this started.
Oh,
I'll
no.
be able,
You know what?
yeah, it never fails.
I know.
Um,
Work always seems to impede your ability to have a good time.
never
is
have
why I
meetings
work
on
here.
Friday.
It's a good time all the time.
So how long do you think it'll be before I get the,
Well, it does take a while to process.
okay,
But I don't have any other classes today after this, so I will watch the download on Zoom, and once it downloads, I will put it. I think we have two places. We have a YouTube link that we send you, and I think I'm not sure if Jeannie did it this year or not. We're kind of phasing out the whole Facebook group things because it's just become too much of a headache, and it's too problematic in that, it's like at this point we've got over 200 A1 groups, and this is like a big time suck. But if Jeannie has started a Digital Dealer 2024 Kimberbell group, Facebook group, then I will put it there as well. But I usually do the YouTube link first. So more people are finding that becomes more useful to them. It's easier to
Okay.
find too.
yeah, because I really want to do this project.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna do, I think, a Technique Tuesday or something and show how you can shake it up by using your if the class from Tuesday is uploaded yet. I did upload it. Let me double check that, April. I did upload it to YouTube, I believe. So let me check it after that. I made myself a note. Yeah, so it is. I think I'm going to do a little Technique Tuesday on how to change it up a little bit using both a purchase design and maybe some fills, or maybe a combination of both, using the some of the features on the machine, because I think that's always a great way to get you to try to use your features and think outside of what class taught you and how you can push it further. Overwhelmingly, I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 months ago, we had a Friday afternoon question for the prize drawing of what do you wish you could see more of in classes on your machine? And overwhelmingly, two things popped up: how to use decorative stitches and what to do with Design Center or IQ Designer beyond just the butterfly that you did in your introductory class. So we've really been focusing on that and hitting it hard with a lot of different classes that bring in Design Center, if not the whole class is Design Center, or using elements of Design Center to enhance something else. So we've been trying to meet that need. And the decorative stitches, I have been using the decorative stitches as binding finish for a lot of years because I'm not a traditionalist. I don't really quilt that often. But I do a lot of binding. I love to bind. I think binding is very therapeutic. So whether the project requires it or not, even most often what I'll do is if I do a sample for, like, I did a series of samples using some of the features in Upgrade 3 when it first came out, because there was an impossibility to sew them all out in class. So I did a few samples and I'll put binding around the sample. But I use decorative stitches to finish off binding all the time. And the Make It Mini people discovered a fun new technique in class with the decorative stitches. By using 2 threads through the eye of 1 needle, they were able to create a finish that looked like a crazy quilt stitch just using a basic built-in decorative stitch. So lots of stuff. I mean, the machine, I think I'm going to probably be wrong on this, but I think the Luminaire and the Solaris have something like 640 decorative stitches or something to that effect. I mean, it's a lot of them. You should be able to find one of them in there that you like to do something fun with.
I tell you something really crazy, Michelle, is I bought my machine. I got the Luminaire 2, I think it is.
Uh-huh.
And I bought it a while back, and I inherited my mom at the same time. So when you guys started talking about the IQ, I thought it was an additional software you had to buy. I didn't know it was in the machine already.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we do that IQ designers class. We do those. So we try to do our new user classes in a series.
Mhm.
And if you buy from us, we give you like almost 17 hours of training. So you get a 3-hour get to know the sewing features, a 3-hour get to know the embroidery features. You
Wow.
get a 3-hour how to use the accessories like the feet and stuff that came with your class, and then a 3-hour that usually runs about 3.5 before we're done, IQ designer class. So we don't expect you to get everything in a 1-hour class. That's not going to happen on a machine like this.
Right.
And I like to do them in a series that you get one before the other, because a lot of times when we put some classes on, like for the Make It Mini, the series with the Make It Mini, the prerequisite is that you have had that basic how to use Design Center class, because otherwise, we cannot incorporate a class that already takes 3 hours so that you can learn the features of Design Center before you want to go farther with it. So it's kind of like you're driving. You have to have your learner's permit and then you get your driver's license. But so we do them in a series. And I just put up a new series that starts, I think, mid next month, where the sewing features comes first, the embroidery features come second. I think in the middle is the accessories class, because Suzanne teaches that one. And then there's the IQ designer class. And now I'm working on, we used to have upgrade 1, upgrade 2, and an upgrade 3 class, because the Luminaire and Solaris have had 3 upgrades. But right now I'm working on one that incorporates all of those upgrades into one class, because, at this point, you would have had to have bought your Luminaire like 6 or 7 years ago to get a machine that didn't at least have upgrade 1 in it. So, we tried it. Now we're going to try to put them all together. So that we can still offer it even when the new machine comes out, because we sold a ton of Luminaires, because the price on them right now is just so nice because the new machine coming. But you know what? The new machine coming doesn't mean that your Solaris or Luminaire is like not a top of the line machine anymore. I never have looked at it that way. It's still an amazingly fabulous machine. And for some people, it's all the machine they're ever going to need. So we'll still have those classes. We just won't have them quite as often. And again, if you purchase from us, you can take the class as many times as you want. If if the class is up there and you want to take it, just call us and let us know. We'll slip you into it. If you didn't take it from us, that's fine. Just call. You can register for it on the website. They're nominal fees for the hours involved in those classes. And we record them. They're all via Zoom, so it doesn't matter what time zone or what state you live in. We record the class and you have access to it forever. We never take it down. So,
because then you can refer back to it. Sometimes
absolutely.
I have to sew it, like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, because my mom's finally asleep at that time.
Yeah, no, I get it. We all have busy lives. Okay, so we're done with the first part. So let's go ahead and take our hoop off the machine. And let's take that out of the hoop.
Mine's still going, so I'm going to be behind just a
That's
little
all right.
bit.
That's all right. Boop, boop. Okay. All right, so I'm done. We can remove the tack down stitches from the step 2. I'm going to leave mine in. They don't bother me. If you want to, you can take them out. Keep in mind that you're going to have seam allowances around here. You're not even going to see them. So I'm going to just leave mine. But if you want to take them out, I think they were more like, they're not that thick of a tack down stitch. Remove the project from the hoop and trim only the excess stabilizer from the back of the pouch. Be careful not to cut the zipper pouch. Okay, so here we go. If you used a cutaway stabilizer with spray based, something like that, so use the tack down line as your guide and just trim around that. The rest of it, don't try to trim within there. So kind of, if you're using the wash away stabilizer, it's pretty easy to trim, but the other way you can also trim it is to just get a Q-tip, tip the end of the Q-tip in water and just dot around where that tack down line is, and you can just pull the excess away. Try not to get it too wet though. because then it'll start to shrivel, which is never a good look, right? Shrivel's never good. Not good in fruit, not good in your embroidery. Lori laughs at me. I can hear her laughing out there because she's cutting Kimberbell kits like crazy. She's like the cutting queen. I'm just going to get rid of this little knot. Careful, don't cut your bag. All right. Be very careful when you cut the one at the top. You don't want to cut the bag. Better to leave a little excess stabilizer there than to end up with a hole somewhere where you don't want it. All right. Carefully trimmed away. If you want to press, but remember, no steam. And then go ahead and hoop that second piece of sticky wash away. So my favorite stabilizer lately has really quickly become Ultra Clean and Tear Plus by OESD because it's sticky, tear away, and wash away. So I've been using it a lot in kid things because it does have a sticky base to it. I can peel the excess away. And then anything that's left underneath, because kid things I usually will cover the back of the embroidery with something soft for a kid's skin. But anything left behind gets washed away the first time that the article is washed. So it's not something I use for everything, but it is quickly becoming one of my favorites because of the fact that it's a tear away and a sticky and a wash away all in one.
What was it called again, Michelle?
It's the OESD Ultra Clean and Tear Plus. The plus is the wash away part because there's an Ultra Clean and Tear, which is a really nice, it feels like a tear away stabilizer, but it feels pretty lightweight. But the Ultra Clean and Tear Plus adds that level of the tear. It's still the tear away, but it actually washes away the first time you wash a garment. So if you do kid stuff a lot and you put that layer of, most of us put like some kind of fusee or something, some knit fusible on the back of the embroidery so it doesn't irritate kid skin. You can cut or tear the excess away, go ahead and put that fusible over it, and whatever is left behind will actually wash away when they wash the garment for the first time. So it's really pretty sweet.
Hey, Michelle,
Yes.
I haven't heard of that OESD product. Do you carry it in the store?
Yeah. Yeah. It's Ultra Clean and Tear Plus.
Ah,
I
Thank
just
you.
ordered it. I just saw it on.
Did you just order it? Yeah, it's not inexpensive. But you know what? If it's the time that you need it, it comes in really handy. Of course, all stabilizer is expensive anymore. All right. I am hooped. I'm going to give you a couple minutes because some of you were still stitching. Let's see, where are we at? Ooh, we gotta move, you guys, because I'll give you a couple minutes, but then we got to go forward because we have another class starting at, I think, 1 o'clock, 1 or 1:30, somewhere around there. Okay. The first side's done. So if you look at it now, when I'm done, this is the front because the back's going to be different. The back's going to have those little slots in it for you to put the belt in. My zipper pull is now to the left. This is the front of my bag. I'm going to do the opposite now. So here's the lining that goes with the front of my bag, and here's the lining that goes with the back. I'm just going to set it aside for now, and we're going to come back to it. So I have hooped my sticky wash away, and I'm going to just stick it on the machine. I'm going to bring you over there with me. You know, I saw that you were like going in and going out, Donna. So I'm kind of watching. I try to not make you wait. All right, so we're going to get rid of this one. Whoop. Hello, would you like to come with me? There we go. We're going to get rid of the design that we had. We're going to go to embroidery, pocket. All right, this is the back of our bag. I want you to look at this.
Michelle, this is Donna. You definitely don't have to wait on me at all. Remember, I still don't know where I have special hiding place where my supplies are.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm just
All right.
watching.
All right.
Thanks.
Look at how that design posts. See those squares? Those squares need to end up at the top of the bag because that's where the belt goes. Otherwise, so by the zipper. So what does that mean? That means the zipper is going to be we're going to be putting the zipper at the other direction. If you put it at the bottom, then the holes for your bag are going to be here. So we're going to get a visual. This is the visual. All right. This is the side. This is the design, how you're sewing it. We want the belt at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and set that. And then we will jump over to, I'm going to just go ahead and stitch out the placement line because that's really not going to change. So I'm going to go ahead and sew out step 1, which is the placement line. Oh, it didn't thread. You didn't thread. How come you didn't thread? All right, another one of my little handy hints here is I love sticky stabilizer because it saves a lot of time in a lot of different cases, but that does have a tendency, even with an anti-glue needle, to get sticky on your needle. So my husband used to work in a hospital and he used to bring these things home from the hospital called adhesive tape remover pads. And they were, they're kind of, I think they have like witch hazel or lanolin or something in it, but whatever it was, they used to use it on patients so that they could begin to dissolve the adhesive before they pulled the bandage off so that they wouldn't damage their skin, taking the Band-Aid off. As it turns out, you can easily buy adhesive tape remover pads on Amazon for a box of 100 for like under 20 bucks. So I always keep them near my machine. If the needle starts to get sticky, I open one of the pads, I wipe the needle down, I rethread it, I keep going, all is good. So it actually kind of saves me some work. Okay, so let's look at this. When we move this hoop to the table, this is still the bottom of the hoop. This is the top of the hoop. Look at where the little squares are. It means that the zipper is going to go to the top of the hoop because we want those to sew here, not here. So let me scoot over to the table. It's right here. Uh-huh. All right, top of the hoop, bottom of the hoop. Embroidering the back and attaching the straps. Place the zipper pouch black on a flat surface, right side down, zipper is closed, and the zipper pull is to the left. All right, so there's the visual with my hoop. There's the top, here's the bottom, zipper pull is to the left. Fold the bottom section of the lining to the top over the zipper and pin it in place. This is the bottom, this is the lining, get it out of the way. Align the sides of the back of the zipper pouch with the fusible right side up with the placement line. The zipper pull should be the top of the hoop and the excess fabric to the left. Wait a minute, this way then, like that. Yes. All right. So now the zipper's up the top, not the bottom, or still at the bottom, no, because it was down here before. This is what you want to see. If you think this goes down here, the holes for your straps are going to be here. So make sure this is at the top. All right. Same thing. You should have the piece that you already embroidered also at the top. We're going to roll it out of the way. You're going to take the lining that goes to the top and put it here, but you're also going to grab the lining that goes to the back and put it over out of the sewing area as well. All right, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to make a little roll just to kind of keep this together and out of the way and put a couple clips in it. All right, haven't stuck anything down yet. Here are my lines. Here's a line here. Here's a line here. Here's a line here. Here's the top. I'm going to go ahead and align the edges of my pouch with the placement lines and then stick it down. All right. So now it's in the opposite direction of where you started with. Here's the top of the hoop. The excess is going off the top of the hoop. The excess includes the piece that you just embroidered, the lining for the piece you embroidered, and the lining for this back side. So you should not see any lining there. When you lift this up, all you should see is your canvas with your SF-101. And again, look at, this is going to attach to the machine. Look at the design on your machine. This is the part you're stitching. All right. If this part of the design is facing this way, the bag needs to be facing that way as well. If it's facing the other way, you're going to be sewing your straps to the bottom of the bag. So the opening to put the strap in needs to be at the zipper end of the bag, not the bottom seam allowance end of the bag. And then make sure it's kind of straight, because that's always a good thing, right? And make sure it's very well stuck down. So top of the hoop, bottom of the hoop, zipper at the top, pull to the right. The openings that you're going to create for the belt is going to go here. If it's looking like you're putting them there, your bag's stuck down there wrong. All right, taking it over to the machine. And slipping it on there. Maybe, there we go. All right, bringing you with me. All right, so this has a lot of steps to it. It looks intimidating, but it's not. It's very well written. So with each step to create that opening in the bag for you to slip your belt through. Hold on. I always forget to bring you back. All right, this has a lot of steps. With each of these steps to create the holes in the bag for you to place your belt through, it's going to have you do one thing at a time. So we can all do one thing at a time, right? If it's, as long as it's just one thing, we can do it. So we're going to start one thing at a time. I'm going to go ahead and press go. It's going to do the tack down the same as it did on the other side. It's going to do that first. Okay, my tack down is going in my zipper a little bit on my zipper tape. So I think it's still going to be okay. Yeah, it's all right. But I will probably take that one out. All right. So now we're just doing the background quilting like we did. You know what? Yeah, it'll be fine. I don't have time to take it out and redo it. But if I were at home, I probably would. So normally what I use for the positioning line in a project like this is that zipper line. Not so much the outside line of whatever I'm stitching on because it matters. The zipper is what matters. If it goes off the end, it doesn't matter. Okay, I dodged a bullet. If I'd have been at home, I probably would have taken that zip the bag off when that placement line ran into my zipper tape. But I didn't because I didn't have time in class to redo it. But I dodged a bullet because my embroidery is not running into the zipper tape, so I'm still good.
Michelle, did you say this is gonna be recorded so we can watch it at another time as well?
Yeah, it's recording now.
Okay.
Yeah, this one has a lot of stitching on it. But once the flowers and stuff are done, the rest of the bag will go pretty quick. So it's like a 23-minute stitch out on both sides of the bag. But 23 minutes is just for it to stitch out, not counting us changing thread. So
Right. Well, I'm a little bit behind and I'm gonna stop and just watch what you're doing because
Okay.
I don't want to mess up and I'll pick it up on the
recording,
yeah, because
that's perfectly fine.
but I'll watch you closely.
All right, I think, is that it? Yep, on to the flowers. I allowed us an extra half hour. I'm certainly glad I did. However, it's not a problem because I have a sewing machine set up in the cove in the back there where I usually write, and I can always take y'all to the sewing, to a different sewing machine for the sewing portion, or if we run into Karen's class. Not a problem. No worries. Uh-oh, am I out of? Oh, I came unthreaded. Well, that can be solved easy enough. I thought maybe I ran out of bobbin thread and I'm like, whoa, I couldn't have. It was almost a new bobbin. One more flower. All right, mine's getting ready to finish the flower. And then we're moving on to the next step, which is going to be our first placement line to make the opening for our strap. So I'm going to grab the directions. So we are stitch the strap hole 1 lining placement line. Place strap hole lining fabric right side down covering the placement line. So let's do the placement line. I'm going to just leave mine in peach since my fabric is that color. So that is the placement line. Now, all of my pieces of fabric, I actually just pressed with a little best press. So I've done my placement line. Place strap hole lining fabric right side down covering the placement line. It's really good size. So this is where we are. I'm going to go ahead and stitch that down. All right, so this is what everybody should look like. You should have so far the placement line and this, the strap fabric with the right side down, stitch down. We're going to remove this from the hoop. Don't remove the hoop from the machine. Don't take this out of the hoop. We're going to cut through all of the layers of the fabric and the stabilizer on the indicated line shown. And I'm actually going to draw the line here on mine with the marker so you can see it. All right, don't take it out of the hoop. So you're going to make like a Y here. So down the center, make a Y that goes out to each corner. You're not going to cut through any of the stitching line. So this is one of those that you're going to cut down this line. You're going to cut all the way to, but not through that stitching line. So this is the time where you need a pair of scissors that's very, very sharp at the tip so that you can do that snip in there. And I'm going to go ahead and leave the zoom on. So I can start this opening with my seam ripper. Don't take it out of the hoop. I can start the opening by putting my seam ripper in there and just starting a little slit. All right. And then I can take my scissor and I can finish it off. I'm going to have to move a little bit because I can't cut at this angle, but.
Is it through all layers?
Through all layers, because you're going to turn it to the other side. All right. Let's see if I can do it this way now. All right, so I'm gonna cut 2, but not through that stitching line. So I do want scissors that are sharp at the tip, no buckling or folding over. All right, so let's see if I can zoom in more and have you still see it. So there's my cut line. All the way to, but not through that stitching line. The stitching line remains intact. All right, all the way to all layers. The bag, the stabilizer, and the lining. And then heat your iron up because you're going to be flipping this to the other side and then pressing. Go slow if you have to. If your scissors aren't quite as sharp as you had hoped. It's a lot of stuff to go through. You're going through stabilizer, you're going through canvas, and you're going through stitching and a piece of fabric. So just make small snips. You don't want to cut through that line. All right. We will. So what we're going to do now is pull the strap lining to the back side of the hoop. So you can press a little bit if you want. Remember, no steam. I always feel like fabric that's pressed flips to the back a little bit easier. No steam at all through this project because of the wash away. And I'm going to just take it and push it through the hole. It's okay if it looks wonky right now. We're going to fix that part in a minute. So just shove all of the pieces through the hole. And then turn it over to the back side of the hoop. All right, I've got my hoop on the edge of the table here. Let me see if I can zoom out because I'm going to have to press this. So I want the part of the hoop that's got all the excess off the edge here. So I'm not pressing that. And I'm going to find something that fits in here because I don't want to push down on my fabric, because if I do that, it's going to push it out of the hoop, and I don't want to do that. And you can tape the edges if you like. Just kind of smooth them out. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Michelle?
Yeah.
If you were doing that with vinyl instead of fabric, would you still do the fabric on the belt loops?
Yeah, I would. You're not going to be able to press it. Well, I guess you could if you had a press cloth, you can give it a little bit of a press. But yeah, because the raw edge of the vinyl is going to look a little bit, I mean, a lot of people don't. A lot of people would just cut the hole out in the vinyl and call it done. But I don't really like a finish like that. So I probably would do this anyway. All right. So from the front, it's okay if you see some of your lining fabric. All right. So now that you've got that done from the front, you can give it a little press. And I would say cover it with something. I'm going to use the other side of the fabric there, just so I'm not pressing right on that embroidery. I'm just gonna give it a little press. And that's what it should be looking like. So there's that first loop. This is really ingenious because you're going to take the lining and stick it behind, and then it's going to sew like from here to here so that it closes it up here. Then you're going to slick the strap in there, and then it's going to sew it here. It's really ingenious the way they've done this. It really truly is. All right, so this is what you should be looking like. On the back, it should be looking something like that. Given as thick as your canvas is and the fact that it has embroidery on it, you may not be able to fold it and press it in here where there are no wrinkles. It's okay. As long as you don't see the wrinkles from the front, you're not going to see them when you're done. So look at wrinkles there, no wrinkles here. All is good. All right, so we've done that and we've taped it. We cut through all the layers of the fabric in the stabilizer, shown in black, just inside the tack down line. Do not cut the tack down stitches. Turn the hoop to the back. Carefully pull the strap lining through the hole to the back of the hoop. Carefully pull the strap lining flat over the stabilizer. Be careful not to loosen the stabilizer. Prepare a supportive surface, such as a small wool felt mat. We already did that. Place the hoop right side down. Press the strap lining. We did that. Tape the strap lining securely in place. We did that. Place strap hole backing fabric right side down, covering the hole. Wait a minute, that sounds weird. Place in the hoop right side down over the prepared surface. Tape the strap lining securely in place. Place one strap hole backing fabric right side down, covering the hole, and tape in place. Let me look at this. All right, so we're actually working from the back. Here's the 5x7 one. So it just does one, has much better pictures. All right, so here's the step that we did. Here's the right side of the fabric, the wrong side. This is the strap hole lining that got tucked in there. Here's where you cut it. Here's where you pulled it to the other side. Here's where you pressed it and taped it. Now, with that side, the back side of it still facing up. So you're looking at the back. You're going to put that lining piece right side down over that. So this is what it looks like on the back. The lining piece is right side down. I'm just going to add a little tape. No shame here in the amount of tape I'm using. All right. Because when I turn it over, it should look like this. You should be seeing the lining from in there. All right, so you pulled the first piece to the back, you taped it in place, and then you took that second piece of lining fabric and placed it right sides down on the back of the hoop. And then we're ready to go to the machine. So Cheryl, I think it just depends on what the project that you're making. I really don't like raw edges on vinyl. I know I don't have to do anything because they're not going to ravel, but it's not my favorite look. So I probably would just do something to make it look a little better. All right, here we go. So the next thing to sew is going to sew a tack down line to the bottom, like right across here. That's going to close that hole. For the side here, you're going to be slipping your strap in through here. So we're going to sew, and this is color stop number 7. I'm going to just leave the peach colored thread in, and it's going to be stitching this down. All right. So now let's see, what side of the strap are we sliding in here? So you are inserting the long strap. So you have one piece of strapping that's cut 15 inches and you have one piece of strapping that's cut 42 inches. We're working with the long strapping first. It doesn't have a right or a wrong end. You're just going to take the end of the strap and slide it in there about a half an inch. If you take it a little more than a half an inch, it doesn't really matter. All right, so then I'm going to try to get it centered in the center. And then I'm just going to utilize the stick on my stabilizer over here to kind of hold it in place. So this is the long piece, not the 15-inch piece. This is the 42-inch piece. And the 42-inch piece, that's a lot of strap. I mean, it really is a lot of strap. So if you look at the finished one here, I've got quite a bit of it folded under, like almost half of it under, and it's still got plenty of room. So slide it in there at least a half an inch. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and stitch color stop 8, which is going to sew around the other side and tack your strap down. Pretty ingenious, huh? That was easier than you thought, isn't it? Wasn't it? It really was. All right, so now guess what you're going to do? You get to do it again on the other side. So it's going to sew the placement line first. You know, and sometimes it just depends on, like this one, you've got canvas here. The embroidery literally goes right up to the edge of where the buttonhole or the opening is for it to turn. That's hard to turn when you go to pull it to the inside and turn it. That's a tough place to have embroidery right there. So you're doing really well. All right, so I'm going to sit this down here and go ahead and stitch that. And then we're going to repeat the process for the other hole for the strap. All right, we're going to take this over to the table and I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the first one. I'm going to make a line so that you can see where I'm cutting. Give it a little press first, because that's always good. Down the center, and then the Y incision to the corners. Just don't cut through the thread that's there in the corner. All right. I'm going to use my seam ripper to start the hole. And then my scissor to finish it. I think these little guys could really be sharpened to the stitching, but not through it. Don't get scared. You have to go right up to the stitching. If not, it doesn't turn very easily or neatly. All right. I'm going to warm it up before I turn it. That makes it easier. And then just push that fabric through. It won't be pretty just yet. All right, so with this, the strap, rather than drag it along everywhere, just kind of unrolled, I'm gonna roll it up and clip it with a little clip. It's still gonna kind of flop around, but at least I won't be looking for it, you know, trying to grab it all the time. All right, so now I can also take all the tape off of this because this one's done. Okay, lift this up and make sure you can see your tab there, you know, your strap there, because we want to make sure that it's secure. All right. Now I can work on this other one, this other side. It's a lot. I mean, if you feel that you've got stitching, you've got SF-101, you've got canvas, it's a lot of stuff going on there. You do this just like you eat an elephant, one side at a time, right? One bite at a time, one side at a time. Remember, we're not looking for perfect here because you're not ever going to see it. Turn it around to the front, give it a little press. I'm just using the other piece of fabric as a press cloth. This is when I really love one of those little tiny irons. Normally I would use a clapper right about now, but I left it out in the other room. All right. This is what that one looks like. Turn it over. Right sides together. Put the backing down. We're going to do the same thing on this side, but this time we're going to sew in the short strap. All right. I'm going to have my short strap handy, but remember the first place it's going to stitch is right in here, right in here, because it's going to close it so that it's closed all the way to your seam allowance here, so that you can't like go like this when you get done with it. So it's going to go here first, and then we're going to slide the other strap in 1/2 inch. All right. Get the camera there so you can see really well. All right. So we are on color stop 11 of 12. You're almost done. I'm going to push go. It's going to stitch down the outside edge. Or the top edge, if you're looking at it that way. Here's my short strap. I'm going to do exactly the same thing with my short strap. I'm going to stick it in the slot at least 1/2 inch in. Center it, and then I'm going to utilize the sticky on my stabilizer to hold it straight. So 1/2 inch in. If you want to mark and be precise, that's cool. Just make sure you get enough. All right. This is your last stitch. See, you thought it was going to be so hard. It's not at all, huh? You just have to go slow and follow all the steps. You know, even when I did this in the 5x7 hoop, it was literally pretty easy to understand. I was pretty impressed. All right, guess what? You're done stitching on the embroidery machine. So let's take it off. We're gonna do the same thing now. We're gonna take it out of the hoop, take the stabilizer away. Are you laughing at me, Lori?
I'm typing you a message. I gotta run.
Okay, all right, run.
Thanks so much,
Oh,
Michelle.
wrong Lori. I thought Lori here was laughing at me, not Lori, you.
Oh, I was probably smiling while I was typing.
But then I've done my job well.
You always do.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much, Michelle.
All right. So I'm getting
Bye-bye.
all my tape off. Bye. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
All right, let's get all this tape off. Looking, I'm checking, and I can see I have a good deal of strap in there. Now the sewing fun begins. So you might have noticed, if you read the directions ahead of time, that they had you have a needle and thread to do a whip stitch to close the zipper. We're not doing that. We have sewing machines that are perfectly capable of creating that. So I'm going to show you how I do it. And there's a couple of ways. You can either do a zigzag stitch, or you can just sew back and forth across the zipper. It's not a metal zipper. You shouldn't really even be using metal zippers anymore if you're using them for an embroidery project, because they can wreak havoc. You can break a needle. You can break a needle on a nylon zipper, don't get me wrong, but the damage is going to be a lot less on a nylon zipper than it would be if you did it on a metal zipper. So we shouldn't really even be using metal zippers on our embroidery machine. If you're a sewist and you still sew like garments and stuff like that, you can certainly use them there. But if you're doing in the hoop projects, it's not a good time to utilize all those metal zippers that you picked up at the thrift store for 10 cents each. There's a reason they're there. All right. Almost there. I only have 33 over there. Okay. All right. I am looking at this here. This is going to end up in my seam allowance when I sew it together. So I'm just going to trim it down a little bit. Nothing else. Everything else is okay. I just want to make sure that this doesn't end up in my seam allowance. It just gives me something else I have to trim away later. All right. And then you can go ahead and turn your machine into a sewing machine for the last few steps. It says to rinse the project and lay it flat to dry. I really never do that. It's just a recipe for getting puckers in your embroidery. So let me get this out of the way. I would not sew this with embroidery thread, mainly because of the wear and tear that the buckle and the strap's going to take. So I would go ahead and change to sewing thread. If you don't have sewing thread and you want to finish it in, in thread, that's fine. So we are going to begin by, we already did that. Lay the project on a flat surface right side down with the zipper pull at the top and the zipper fully closed. I can unroll all of this now. All right. So go ahead and take your lining and put your lining on your lining sides. From the raw edge of the zipper pouch at each end of the zipper, measure 1 1/4 inch inward along the zipper using a water-soluble pen. So what we want is 1 1/4 inches in from the end, because we're going to box this corner at the top, which means that we're going to be cutting some of that off. So I'm going to get my ruler, and from each end, I'm going to mark 1 1/4 inches. So I'm just going to use the actual fabric itself. So I do 1 1/4 inch. And I'm going to make a mark. And then 1 1/4 inch and make a mark from the bottom. I can see my mark from the front or the back. It doesn't matter. And then you are going to be sure your zipper is closed at the bottom. Use a needle and thread and hand sew a large whip stitch around the zipper teeth closest to the mark. Do not do this at the top or you will have to undo it. So I can see from both ends because we want to close the zipper teeth. If you do the whip stitch here before with this closed, guess what you can't do? Open your pad. So I'm going to do the bottom first. I'm going to go ahead and change out to some sewing thread and my sewing foot. So I'm finished with embroidery for now. I'm going to change out to this. I have a hard time fitting my hand in here. So I'm going to go ahead and touch sewing to begin with. It's going to make the embroidery foot look funny. It's okay. Because that way it gives me more room to get my hand in there. Taking the embroidery foot off and putting my sewing foot on. You're working with a nylon zipper. If you go slow, everything will be fine. And I am just using some Metler polyester thread, just regular sewing thread. Normally, just to sew the pouch together, I would say just leave your embroidery thread on. But since you do have a belt here, I like to sew from the front. So I'm going to make my marks visible on the front, although I can see them, you probably can't. Doesn't matter which way, which side. You're just going to sew it together. But not the end with the zipper yet. Do not do that. We have to open the zipper. So a couple ways you can do it. You can use again, pull your lining out so you don't kind of snag that when you do it. You can use a zigzag stitch and just go, you know, back and forth with a zigzag stitch. Or since this is going to be enclosed in a seam, you can just do a straight stitch back and forth over the top of it a couple of times. So that's what I'm gonna do. Come on. I'm at this end of the zipper, not the other end. So I'm just gonna make sure I've got my lining out of the way. So I'm just gonna give it a tug. I'm gonna put the foot down. And all I need to do is sew on the teeth, not anywhere else. So oh, there's my foot control. Although push button is one of my favorite things to do. Sometimes the camera angle impedes me with that one. Okay. I got the speed turned down. I'm just going to go forward. And then I'm going to go backwards. And then I'm going to go forward. And then I'm going to go backwards. I just want to make sure that the zipper pull can't pull off the end. Let me get that cut and you'll see that there's not a lot of thread there, just enough to hold it so that I can't pull the zipper off. It's going to end up getting enclosed in your seam. So don't worry about it right now. Now for this end, I have to open the zipper. So I find with this, it's either easier to have a piece of double-sided tape if you're not really very good with this on the back side to hold the two sides together, or I have a mark, so I have something to follow. The other thing that is handy is a stiletto, because at some point, even if you pinch these two together, at some point you have to let go for your foot. So put the foot down, go slow. I've got the stiletto here so that when it jumps over, it doesn't move. And then go back. So then go forward and go back a couple more times. The stiletto, you only need to hold it in place the first time. All right, so now look at how much better it is if you hold the two sides together. They don't pull out apart. So now you're good. You've got something that's an indicator that's going to prevent you from actually you know, pulling your zipper tab off. All right, so let's see what's next. Oops, I always forget I have to unzoom before I exit. All right. We've done that, we've done that. We don't need to whip stitch. Open the zipper halfway. The whip stitch will keep the zipper intact where the corners are boxed in later steps, and remove the clips from both straps. All right, zipper's open. Mine was open more than halfway already. Let's see what we're doing next. So we're going to fold each strap towards the center and tape it in place. And do use tape, don't use pins. You can use clips if you have clips, but don't use pins. Pokes holes in the strap. It's never a good thing. So you have this whole area inside the bag to get this out of the way. Because we know we're not going to sew there, right? All right, so we're taped in place. All right, rotate the project so the open zipper end is on the left. Align both sides of the pouch, front right sides together, and then the lining will be at the top. So fold right sides together of the pouch, and then the linings will be right side together, and then clip around the edges. All right, so I will give you the tip that's going to be the, to do where you actually are sewing all the way around. Don't sew all the way around. Stop and cut your thread right at the zipper and leave that little tiny bit of a gap in there, because when you turn it, your lining's not going to have that bunchy thing in the corner. And I'll show you what I mean. I've never really been successful that way, but a little tiny hole that's like this big is not going to actually create any problem with the pouch. It is going to give the lining a place to relax. Not meaning a spa day, but you know, it's going to relax when you go to put it in. All right. Right sides together, all clipped. On the left, it says to fold the zipper, align the zipper teeth, and pin it. So fold the zipper, align the zipper teeth, and pin. Do I have a pin? I think I have a pin here somewhere. Some zipper tape and pin. All right. On the right side, zipper end, fold the aligned zipper taped edges together. The zipper tape edges will face toward the lining. The edges will face towards, oh, okay. Karen, what time are you starting? What time is whatever I'm done? Because I can move.
You do your thing. I'm just hanging out.
What time was the class scheduled for? 1 or 1:30?
Well, I thought it was 1:30, but then when she held up the thing, it said 1.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, 1:30 is good.
Okay. I have a sewing machine set up in the back that I can move to, but they are almost done.
No, I wish I could. I'm supposed to be in this class. I'll watch it later.
Okay, you're gonna do a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and it has you do it all the way around, leaving an opening at the bottom. If you choose to do it that way, that's fine. I'm gonna do it the way I normally do it, leaving a little bit of space between the lining and the front, so that when I put the lining in, it has a place to relax. If you want to do it that way, great. If you want to do it all the way around, just leaving an opening here, make sure you can get your hand in this opening, because it isn't going to help you anything if you can't get your hand in there to actually turn it. So we're going to use a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way around. All right, I'm going to show you my method. So I always stop this in here and in here. I don't want to cross over. I want to go up to the zipper tape and not cross over it. So I start and stop a couple times. Again, up to you. You can go all the way around. That's fine too. I'm going to set this at the 3/8 of an inch mark. Doesn't matter where I start. I'm going to go all the way around. I have stitch 1-03, which is center needle position, stitch length of 3. All right. I'm not going to do a back stitch here because I'm going to come back to it again. Actually, I know how I can get perfect 3/8. I'll use stitch number 1. It moves my needle over, and then I can use the edge of my foot. All right. I slow down when I come to the corners. I'm gonna, nope, one more stitch. And pivot. All right, so when I come to the top here, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop right here and backstitch. This is just the way I do it. You can do it as the directions say, no problem. I just don't want that pucker I know I'm gonna get with my lining if I try to run over it. So I'm gonna stop right at that zipper and I'm gonna backstitch. And then I'm just gonna go back and I'm gonna sew the other direction. Because this is all done in one fell swoop all the way around. All right.
Down on it pretty fast and then we'll,
All right. Again, when I get up here to my zipper teeth, I'm gonna stop just shy of the zipper teeth. All this does is leave a little bit of space that allows the zipper and the lining to relax as you close it up. And so when you go to fit it inside the bag, it's a little bit nicer. All right. Same thing over here on the lining, only this time I'm leaving the opening, and I will backstitch at the beginning and the end of the opening. So you literally have a little bit of an opening between here and here. It's about 1/4 of an inch. You won't ever notice it, but what you will notice is how much nicer your lining sets into your pouch when you leave that space. All right, we're gonna get ready after this to box those corners. That's gonna give us our pouch that nice round shape. All right. Okay. You want to square each corner 3/4 of an inch from each seam line, from the seam line, not from the edge of the pouch. So I'm going to make a mark on mine so that you can see it. Since I have white thread, so 3/4 of an inch square from the seam line. So here's 3/4 and 3/4. So I have a little square that's 3/4 of an inch from the seam line. And you are going to reinforce the seams where these lines intersect, because we're going to cut this square out to box the corners. So you're going to take it back to the machine and reinforce right where that line intersects, just so that when we go to box the corners, the bag doesn't start to come apart on you. So right here, here, right here, and right here. So here we go. Now you can turn the stitching down to 2.0 or 2.5 just because you're doing reinforcement stitching. I'm just going to stitch over where I stitched before. Just right where we're going to cut it. Just so it can't come apart when you pull it apart to box it. All right. You're going to cut those corners out. So I'm going to get some sharper scissors for all those layers.
Oh, that's a good part. Yeah, look at the bottom.
All right, so we're also repeat. Okay, so what we're gonna do is grab the project and pull those two seam lines together. So this is called boxing corners. You can do it on any bag that's flat and make it not be flat. Right, so here's our corner we just cut. We're gonna pinch it together and pull this way so that you can get it flat. You can do it with the seams open if you want, but you're going to match those seams and clip. And you're going to do that all the way around for all four of the corners you just did. So pull the project apart. You're still working with on the wrong side. We haven't turned it inside out yet. And then, straighten it out so that you can really get those sides to match. You don't want it looking like this. You want to make sure that they come together. This is close with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I like to clip both sides. Obviously, it's kind of a small area, so I'll have to take the clips out, but it begins to kind of secure it before I start to stitch. So pull the two pieces apart so that so you make like a little triangle and then match those seam allowances. Make sure those edges are even when you sew across here.
Oh, gotcha.
So I'm not quite sure how we ended up crowning these two classes together, but I'm going to finish the bag. And then the recording for how to install the strap, the hardware is actually already done. But I'm going to do it again on this one and I'll record it and I'll add it to the end. Okay. All right. So I'm going to now sew across that 1/4 inch on all 4 of those corners. Make sure that your zipper is still open because we have to be able to turn this inside out. One 1/4 inch, back stitch at both ends. I've smushed it because I want to make sure that those sides stay together. Now I'm smushing the other side. I just want to make sure that while I sew that 1/4 inch, that those pieces don't come away from each other. All right. Almost done with the sewing part. All right. So we've got our corners boxed. Now we want to mark a rectangle, centering it over the zipper on each end of the zipper pouch. The whip stitching is shown in red. We can't really see our whip stitching, is it? On the I can feel it. Whip stitching's right here. All right. All right, zipper should be open. We're gonna sew for about 1 inch on either side here, but we're gonna, let's see. It's 3/4 of an inch in from the side. And it'll be a total of 1.5 this way. So it's 3/4 of an inch and then it'll be 1.5 across here. And that, what we want to make sure though, is that the whip stitching, where's that whip stitch line? My whip stitch is right there. I don't want to cut that whip stitch because then the zipper is going to come. And for some reason, although I measured, let's see, no, mine's right there. Oh yeah, that's about 3/4 in. That's where my whip stitching is. I'm good. I'm like, I measured. All right. So I want to measure 3/4 of an inch in from the seam allowance. And it's going to be a total of 1.25 inches here across, 3/4 of an inch in, so that the zipper is like in the center. So I'm going to mark the 3/4 inch first from the seam line. So that makes it like right here. And here's the zipper. It's like the 3/4 inch on the other, on the 2 boxed corners at the bottom. It's just that we're going across an area that's already stitched. Three-quarters of an inch. And then this should be 1.25 inches. Okay. So we're gonna make sure that you stitch here and stitch here. We're gonna end up cutting this out and boxing the zipper. So I'm gonna do the same on the other side. 3/4 of an inch. I know it's scary. It'll be all right. That's what, so this step is what makes this right here at the top, the box at the top for your zipper. Three-quarters of an inch.
So that's a crazy price too. If you want that, that's all. That's like all the colors including.
And one, so it should be about 1 and, okay. All right. So I want to do my reinforcements right here, right here, right here, and right here. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the other side. With the bottoms is I'm going to sew that reinforcement stitch right along the seam line. And I am doing that at about 2. All right. I'll do the scary part first. All right. So clipping the bag. And then clipping the lining. You can sew them both at the same time together. Clip them separately so that you get them correctly. All right. Opening this. All right. So we're doing them together. I'm just clipping separately so that I make sure that both of them are on the seam line. When we do our 1/4 inch seam allowance, we're going to be sewing them both together. All right, so do I have time to do both of them? Yeah, I do. Okay, well, right. Line them up. All right. The outside of the bag first, because that's what's the what we refer to as the public side. That's what everybody sees. So we want that side perfect. And then we're going to do the same thing, pull the lining pieces together. I know it seems like it shouldn't work. And again, open it up so that that seam is as close to the other seam as possible. If it's impossible, then guess what, which one we want better? The outside, because that's what the public see, what we call the public side. That's the side you see. So I've got this. I will sew from this side because it would be nice if the lining was perfect, but it's even better if the bag side is perfect. Okay, 1/4 inch. I got both of them pinned together. Sewing from the bag side. Smush it if you have to. Do a double time or so over where the zipper is. I don't think I went twice over the zipper over here, so I'm going to go over it again. All right, let's see what we got. I'm going to reach to the inside of the bag and pull the rest of it out or through the zipper. And it's easy if you kind of work it a little bit at a time. and try to get like, if you push up from the bottom, you can usually pull the bottom through. You have all the strap and everything in there, so. This is what they call birthing a bag. It is almost like giving birth. If you've never given birth, this is what it feels like. If you have given birth, you know exactly what it feels like. All right, come on, bag. Come on. Go through there. I'm almost there. I'm almost there. I'm almost there. All right, I'm there. There's one nice pretty boxed corner at the top with the zipper. There's the other one nice and pretty with the zipper. Let me get my hand in there. I thought I left enough room for my hand. Push the corner out at the bottom. Push the corner out at the bottom. And there it is. There's the back. There's the front. You didn't think it was going to work, did you? Actually, with the first one, I didn't think it was going to work either, but it did. So, and then the lining just fits much better in there if it doesn't have that bunch. All right, so I gotta exit, you guys, because I gotta give Karen the machine and the classroom for her class. If you go to the pre-recorded video, it shows you how to put your hardware on. If I get a chance this afternoon, I'm gonna try to get this video uploaded to YouTube as soon as I can, because I know some of you quit because you're like, I don't know, I want to make sure she doesn't crash and burn first. And she didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get this uploaded as quickly as I can. If I get a chance, I'll do another video installing the hardware, but the installation video is actually already up. I will include a link to that video. You can just fast forward to the end. All right. Thanks for joining me. It was better than you thought, wasn't it? It wasn't as hard as you thought. It was good. All right, ladies. Thank you so much.